I've tried this PC rebuild like 3 times already, and 3 of those times were different devices. I've tried it with a 2009 Samsung Camper U10, my mom's phone, my dad's phone. Neither of those worked. And now I'm trying it a 4th time with the iPad. If this one doesn't work, then I'm just going to hit full blown with the broadcast. Because I don't know what else to do.
And finish your taco. Come and finish your Taco Bell. Come and finish your Taco Bell.
Now we're not installing an OS because I already have an OS installed and I've been using it for like a few months now. And it's been working well, except for the fact that I have a storage device. Solid state another solid state drive used for storage, and it's 500 gigabytes. And so, with this is rebuild video number 4 for the retry of number 4. Got our motherboard that's not positioned correctly for the camera. We're gonna do CPU first, because might as well before I forget. And so the CPU we're installing is a Intel Core, is a 4th generation Intel Core i5 4590.
There is a toilet brush in
Clocked
here.
at 3.30 gigahertz. Actually, it's 3.50 gigahertz.
Toilet bowl. How do you use the toilet bowl brush?
I mean, which one is the toilet brush?
This is the generations of CPUs where they don't have the pins on the
Yeah, you know, that brush
CPUs and have the pins in the socket. And so we're gonna place it in.
You know what?
There we go.
I can't get it out. It's like.
That's how you put it in. Actually, I haven't shown you it. I haven't shown you.
White spot around this.
looks like you got a bite or something. Itch?
Yeah.
You'll see it?
So what should I do with it?
Spray some Bactine on it.
I see on camera it says Intel Core i5 4590.
Helps the pain a little bit, right?
Yep, and getting infected again, it's good for the bites. It does taste good.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Don't go away, Pete. Okay.
What?
Son of a mother flippin'!
Gosh darn. Big around the door. Right?
I think I just burnt my finger
In the door.
and like actually heard it crack.
Should I tell Dad?
No, there's nothing he can do about it.
Hmm.
Ah! Oh, it's closed right on my nail too.
Next thing we're going to install is
Jesus.
guess it's cooler. I just grabbed the RAM off the floor. I don't have anywhere else to put it because this camera zooms in a way I don't like it. And so I have to have it on the far edge. This cooler's not easy to put on. This is why I don't like redoing these things. Damn it, and I just aligned it and realized I need thermal paste.
Hopefully that was cracking on a bone.
I'll show you an example of what I mean by these are one of the generations that when they switched from having pins on the CPU to having pins in the socket. So this is a first generation Core i5, Intel Core i5 460M, so it's an early one. You're kind of right. And this one, you can see there's pins. On this one, it's just flat. And there's some components here. And the same thing with this one. I don't plan on using this, but when I get another pavilion or something that uses that, I'll put it in there. If it's the fact that it has something lower power. I just like holding these things. This is a desktop CPU and it feels really good, but before we get back in, I need to find my thermal paste. If I can find it. And yep, it's. Oh wait. Never mind, I found it. I was literally thinking of doing broadcast with a webcam and a computer, but realizing that the computer I was going to use is disassembled. So, that was a great start. And the fact is that every time I want to open this, I have these wires to get it open because it's so tight with that thermal. I'll be using Arctic MX4 thermal compound.
Really bad.
So now we'll place our CPU in there, just some kind of position. Go. And how do we do this? Just press it. That's probably a little too much. It's fine. For anyone who thinks I don't know what I'm doing, yes, I do know what I'm doing. I have disassembled many computers before. In fact, I've disassembled stuff at school. Yeah, before we it should be a good idea to note that to do a cross pattern and not to tighten one down and then do the other one, and then tighten one down and not doing cross patterns and just going in a circle. Don't do that. It might actually break the CPU, like crack it. we go. We'll just connect that band in. Next are our pairs of 4 gig RAM sticks. This thing is a dual channel, not a quad or anything higher. It's enterprise, so I wouldn't expect it to be anyways, because this is enterprise, and why would you need extremely high speed stuff? And so this stuff, you just have to press it in quite hard. Unlike with laptop DIMMs, where you actually were to like slide it in and then like press it down. An option oh my finger.
How was I supposed to know that?
Optionally, you can put a graphics card in here. If your graphics is not really that great, you might actually get away with using like something like a GT 610. Really, I just recommend using like something like a GTX 1050 or just whatever GTX you have. Just if it's a GT and using a 2014 system with Intel HD graphics for 4600 series, 4600s with Intel HD graphics. The Intel HD graphics are actually going to do better than this piece of garbage. It wouldn't be a piece of garbage if it was the case where it was opposite, where this thing would have performed better than this. But I'm not going to put it in, because why would I put in a graphics card that's not even going to do much for me? Also, don't ever install these without, like, the bracket. You could do it like this optionally, but it's at your own risk. If you don't know what you're doing, if you want to disassemble one of these, I could possibly do something for you. No, but on a call, not like come to y'all's house and like do this for you. And most people who are subscribed to my channel I don't even think owns a PC. Now, I don't have a GTX 1050, so we're just going to stick with Intel HD graphics. Now, I would not recommend buying those these cheap Chinese boards where they have something like that has an integrated GTX 1050, because those things cheap Chinese stuff with little thought to them usually are either deadly or just
Make chargers.
or something else. After doing this, if there's anything else that this needs attached, like M.2, you're going to need to do that if you're going to use that. If your board does not support M.2 but has SATA, then put in the motherboard before you plug in your drives. And some motherboards, older generation board computers, will not be using,
Finish it and get on that.
will not have the direct connect, like hardwired power. It's unusual because SATA power is a bigger connector than SATA data. Which I don't get that. But whatever. Also, gaming motherboards will normally have a 24 pin. This motherboard is an enterprise motherboard, so it just has an 8 pin. You also have to be mindful that if your motherboard, if you use a computer that was before 2000s, now I'd recommend watching a different video about how to disassemble your specific computer, although some computers are so rare that you can't even find a nation of how to disassemble them or anything else. This one should be particularly easy since it's a 3020, which these ones are pretty common. And also, another thing is that if there's error messages about your computer when you reassemble this, most commonly for older ones, like older than 5 years old, will have this clock battery, but this clock battery will probably be dead. In this case, I've already replaced it. I accidentally took it out while not hooked up on AC power, and so I'm gonna have to reconfigure it. Also, boards like 486 boards had their configuration settings stored it into RAM instead of flash memory, into solid state memory. Mine does not need any. My board does not support M.2, and so we can now just place this in here. You also have to be really careful with these because electrostatic discharge can potentially kill something. If you want to learn more about if you want to find out how hard it is what it could potentially take, you could go watch one from a person like Linus Tech Tips. For this, I've also never disassembled computers with laptops where you had to remove the keyboard before removing. Actually, I can barely see it. Actually, let's just reposition it. Can y'all see? No. I will just be mindful these things are not in position. Also, might have to
I don't want to hear anything out of you. I had to clean your Taco Bell out of the bowl.
That was before the Taco Bell.
Was it?
Yes, it was.
really hard time. I'm having a really hard time trying to position this thing. We'll be back in a second.
What does the bundle say?
Actually, probably should have installed it RAM before. Or, but I've learned from my mistake that, just do what I can put to it, so it's all the way in there, so just keep it. You also have to be mindful is that if your PC, if it's something like a MacBook, you can't just use regular unbuffered Dells. You can buy adapters that could adapt your laptop memory to a desktop slot. But it's, once again, one of those types of cheap and not very well thought out these products that just generally don't work very well. The truth is, just buy the RAM that should really be designed to be used in your computer. Now, if it's a server, depending on something like if it's like an old generation Dell, you might have problems with it because those things generally are very, very loud, and they also, over time, break down, and their cooling solutions are very bad. I have no idea why, but it's just how it is. Oh, come on. Once again, it's not, and I will say this, like many others said, it's not easy to work around a camera. And some things are just too difficult to handle working around the camera. Now we will install our drives. Now, Dell has made this really well thought out. You actually, for these ones, if you put them in this, you actually just have to slide it in and just press it. And it's good. But if you don't have that, if it's a solid state drive, you could just drop it in there and not have to worry about it unless it was exposed. In this case, I do have exposed SSDs, but I've covered some of them with not electrical, Scotch tape. I don't know where my electrical tape went. Ow. And so, for ones like this PC particularly has this connector. Older generation ones have a connector type called Molex, and will have adapters for SATA. And I've seen them before. Now connecting SATA for the optical drive. Now for the front panel. Generally these ones can be slid off for these ones, but if yours has permanently attached ones, don't take it off and then don't try taking it off. You're probably going to end up breaking it. Unless you really know what you're doing. Or in the case if you just want to waste money, to be honest. When it comes to being stuff that I know would take a while to be replaced or just will not be replaced at, or I try not to break them. We'll actually disconnect the SATA for now, because I need to get access to front panel. This is kind of a tutorial as well, so you'll be able to do something like this, like a rebuild video of this same PC or something similar. This would have been the OptiPlex 3010 if it wasn't for the case of it being overlooked. So this is, I believe, the front audio. And so that just, or it's the USB. Yep, it's front audio. Oh my god, it did the same thing again. Oh my god. Oh my. There we go. And now, this one, I believe is the USB. It says front panel, so yeah, I think that's USB. Now this connector that has a lot less wires is the front hard disk drive LED, which I don't even know why it needs so many pins, but whatever. It's not easy to hold it. Now next is the power supplies. You know, mine is the original power supply for this computer. It is a Dell D290 EM00. This is a 290 watt power supply. So there's a 12 volt that delivers 14 amps, a 12 volt B delivering 16 amps, and a 12 volt SB delivering 1.67 amps. This is an 80 plus gold. This one is about the easiest one to install. There we go. It's that easy. And this, I just shove the cable under there and then just... This PC has an 8-pin connector and a 4-pin CPU connector. You could just leave it with no screws, but I'd recommend putting in the screws. Older generation power supplies will actually have... I actually forgot I was going to try taking off the I/O shield, but I was afraid it was going to break the I/O shield, and those are generally very important. And the fact I have no idea why I'm doing this. Now, I will say this. This is not a repair video. this is only a, I guess like a rebuild guide if you want to rebuild your PC. I'm sure this video won't get any views. I'd actually be surprised if it even got 1 million. I'd generally be surprised if it even got 1,000. And now, if you've still awake at this point, you can. This one, if it came with two, I'd plug in. If it's a cable like this, plug it into the white one. If it's a storage drive. Now, if you have a black cable, if you want it to match the connector, match it with the black connector on the board. You should be done at this point, but for me, I need to remove this panel. Please be mindful of this scratched up thing. I actually tried to engrave something into it, but it ended up messing up the whole thing, which I probably should have did practice on before. Doing this. I know if Linus Tech Tips were to watch this, he'd say this is obsolete hardware. Don't judge me. Not everyone has, like, really expensive hardware, like an RTX 3090 and a AMD Ryzen Threadripper for 64 core edition. And so now this is finished, we can put up the side panel, which I kind of messed up a little bit, so it'd be really hard to slide it in. I could just buy a new one, but I don't want to waste money on just a piece of sheet metal. Okay. Screwing it in. I generally don't even know why I screw these in. Get in there. There we go. Damn it, I just popped in the IO shield. Give me a second. I have to open this again. This particular one is an enterprise PC, so it has the intruder switch on it, which is something when you power it on, that it will tell the person that the lid has been, when it's not connected to any power at all, that the lid has been opened. And now, I press the power button. And so, jeez, of course you can't see it, because this thing is zoomed out too far. So, we'll be plugging in my receiver for my headphones. But first, let's plug in the mouse. My keyboard. Would plug in Ethernet, but the cable's short, so not yet. The webcam, the wireless receiver for my headphones, display port. Now we turn it to this position. Grab the Ethernet cable. This thing has problems with not working for whatever reason. Plug that in. And now, for the final moment, power. I didn't even screw in the panel. Seems like we didn't mess up. Or did. Invalid configuration. Please run setup program. Time of day not set. Please run setup program. Alert. Power button cable failure. What? I did expect to see the configuration for the date and time, but I did not expect to see the power button failure. These are the results we have. Invalid configuration information. Please run the setup program. Time of day not set. Please run setup program. Alert. Power button cable failure. Date and time. So it's saying 2014, which is not correct. Month of 11th, nope. It is, I believe, the 3rd. Actually. It's the 10th. And the year is 409. Oh wait, 409. There we go. Alert, power button cable failed. Something wrong with the power button cable. They came up with it at this. If it came up with that a second time, then it's actually something like the power cable. And it's the fact that it's not even connected. What a dummy. The power button. I guess it does. That should be okay now. Now somebody with the panel on it, which is a little bit messed up. There we go. And now, this is false now. This is false. So we press F1 to continue. Well, I didn't want to go into setup. Booting into Windows. This is done.